We're back again. we love surprising all of you.
Yeah, we're back. We're going to talk about hypnosis for pain. I think we touched on it a little bit in one of the other videos, just that it was available to it, but we're going to dive deeper.
We're gonna see how far I can really read into these books and do research on pain and hypnosis.
Yeah, I know.
A little test.
We'll see how she does. Get some hard-hitting questions. So I'm Megan Yingling, and I'm here usually as the essential oil expert. Well, I guess I still am, but not really in that regard in this. I'm going to be asking questions to...
I'm Christine Schumann, and I am the hypnotist, certified consulting hypnotist / educator and provider.
Yes, I love it. All of the words there.
We're really trying to work on thesaurus words. We're just trying to pull it from the ethers.
We'll have to ask ChatGPT to come up with some interesting titles for us.
Just have AI here. We'll just go out in the sun or do whatever we're going to do.
Oh, yeah, the sun.
Yeah, which, by the way, that's why I have this like crazy looking burn on my neck. Is actually from the sun. Maybe can you tell how tan I've gotten?
Be careful out there, everyone.
I mean, you can use sunscreen. Just saying. I guess I didn't think of it on my neck.
All right, so other kinds of pain.
Yeah, moving on from cancer, which, by the way, that's what we're talking about.
We're all connected here. All right, so hypnosis for pain. So are there any case studies that proved hypnosis to be effective for reducing pain in cancer patients?
Yes.
The end. Just kidding.
Bye, guys. It's been nice. We've had fun. So there's quite a few, but there was one specific one, and they did work on her, and I think her practitioner had mentioned it to her because she was having like a great deal of pain, and it was pretty debilitating for her. So it was just this one specific case study that I kept reading over and over and over again that I felt like was pretty interesting, and I was following along with it, and it was just one of the ones that I had decided to choose to talk about.
So was this patient actively going through treatment, or was this after she had all of the treatments?
She had been going through her treatment, and she was done, and she had a lot of residual pain.
Oh, okay.
From all the treatment. And so her residual pain came in her right arm, and then the other various parts of her body. But the specific one that I really focused on was her right arm, just because as a massage therapist, I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine like having a career and then not being able to function after going through all this treatment.
Yeah.
And so I really focused on this part of the hypnosis and how they were able to help her with that.
So how did they determine, like what did they ask the patient to determine whether the hypnosis would be effective?
Well, they had her do sort of like a pain scale first. And then they went through, and is
that with the little faces?
Kind of, yeah. It is.
It's not funny, I'm sorry.
But we do have
the faces are cute.
Well, just to help anyone determine, like, oh, my face would look like that, or my face would look like that. But anyway, they did ask her pain scale level, and she was, I believe she was at a 10 because she was completely debilitated. And she was asked to do different forms of hypnosis and see what would be effective for her. So the only thing that she was unable to do was the responsiveness to amnesia, so to forget, which was probably a good way to determine whether or not they would, because if she can forget about the pain, like have no memory of the pain, and then they could do hypnosis, it'd probably be more effective, but it didn't work for her.
Okay.
So they did, it was like 4 out of 5 that they had tried, and she just didn't seem to be responsive to the amnesia one. But to kind of scale back to like what she was feeling, she was like a 42-year-old female, and she had breast cancer that metastasized into her bones.
Oof.
And her massive pain was on her right arm and hand. And the only way she gained any type of relief was from taking some medicine, and it was like it would barely like touch it. It would give her just a little bit of relief, but it didn't. I mean, she's not having a quality of life because she's under medicine that would inhibit her from doing anything that she could be like qualified to be within her like clarity of thought. So like driving would probably be off the table, working any type of capacity would be off the table. And she had children, and
Oof.
and so she loved doing a lot of things outdoors too. She couldn't do it because she was in so much pain. And as we know, when we're in pain, it psychologically affects us too. So we are overwhelmed because our body's using all of our energy to try to find ways to like deal with the pain and find relief from the pain. And then psychologically we start to spiral because we just can't get out of the pain. And so for her, in order for her to even have a little bit of respite, she had to take this medicine, which was like a pain reliever, but it was like pretty intense pain reliever medicine. So I'm not sure if it was, I think it was codeine. So if you take codeine, you can't drive on codeine. I mean, you shouldn't be driving on codeine, and you shouldn't be operating
not a
heavy
challenge.
machinery on codeine, and you shouldn't be making big decisions on math or, like finance or if she was, they didn't really say what she did for a living, but I'm just saying like at a grand scope of things, like being an attorney or doctor, like those things are off the table. You have to be in your clear mind.
Well, yeah, and I feel like decision making, you said she had children, so I feel like in her role of a mother, I feel like she would have to make decisions and be able to take care of her children. I can't imagine wanting to be on something like that.
Right. And then people tend to self-medicate too. Not to say that, didn't speak to that here, but just taking ourselves away from her case study and just talking briefly about it. People tend to self-medicate when they feel like nothing else is working. Yeah. They just want relief from the pain. And then, so, she didn't mention if she had used like any other forms like massage therapy or acupuncture or like essential oils or whatever. But I think any one of those things would have been helpful to maybe like distract her from the pain. Yeah. But her primary care physician had come to her and took her down these channels of like determining what her pain scale was and determining what level of hypnosis she would be effective for her. And so what they had determined was that she was capable of being placed under hypnosis for 4 out of the 5.
Okay. So how did they end up doing the hypnosis?
Well, they ended up asking her several questions about the things that she enjoys doing, which is typical when we do our interviews. So, for instance, if someone wants to lose weight, I ask about their repulsions so that I can change their passion for something and put a repulsion there, so they wouldn't even want the peanut butter M&Ms. They'll just walk right past them.
Those are the best ones.
I know, but maybe we should all have repulsion for them, and they just be on the shelf and we just walk through it. But then they asked her, like, what do you enjoy doing? She loves nature. She loved being outside. She loved going swimming was one of her favorite things to do, is to feel like the buoyancy and hearing the tide. Like everything about being on a beach and near water is what was therapeutic to her, but she couldn't even get herself there because she was in so much pain. Yeah. So they conducted an interview and they were gathering information about what would work and what wouldn't work, and so how to put her into this induction. And so they did use her love for being in water and hearing the tide. So they tried to get her to give an suggestion for her imagination to create the environment while they're putting her into an induction. Okay. Which is like the beginning part of the hypnosis. Yeah. And then they use that feeling of buoyancy and the sound of the tide and even the feeling of the water. So she was placed in that environment. So that would bring her peace. Yeah. So she wouldn't start regressing. Then what they had her do was imagine that her perfectly fine arm, which was the left arm, had a glove that was placed on it. Like, so she imagined a glove and it was cold. So she was making like a snowman, putting her hand in like the freezer or whatever that would make that arm cold.
I feel like my arm just got cold.
And so they had her touch that arm that was cold, that hand onto the hand or to the arm that was having pain. And then they had her roll down the glove from the perfectly fine arm and place it onto the right arm.
Ooh.
And the right arm, this is all under suggestion. And so then she started having less pain because she was able to numb her right arm. This is all by power of suggestion. This is all under hypnosis. And so they did that several times, and they probably recorded, I'm sure, because we do record it, and so they can take it home so they don't have to constantly come back and only have the power of suggestion for that one moment. So this is something that they can constantly do on their own. And so they can start the morning that way and live their life with having that constant feeling of numbness in that right arm where they felt that it was cold. So that's what happened. That's what they did. And she had responded to it favorably. And so this is a woman that was on a scale of like a 10. And they did this changing, like making it cold and taking a glove from one, putting it on the other, and it worked.
That's so cool.
I know. This is like the power of the mind is incredible.
Well, and what a relief for her.
So she'd actually do things. I mean, she had other problems, but this is like the main one I felt like I cued in on. And she was able to feel cold and then numbness. And she was able to like function because the pain wasn't still at a 10 anymore.
Very cool.
So she ended up going from...
I was going to say, do they know what she rated at after?
Yeah, so she came back and they were constantly monitoring her, and she went from a 10 to a 2. So they don't want to bring it so it's completely gone because their body is saying something's wrong. So with hypnosis, we don't want to take it away completely because your body's still communicating that something is not right. So we need to constantly know that not right is still there. But we still want you to be able to function. Now, they've tried everything else. They've tried medicine. They've tried everything else. Nothing else was working. They know that there's like permanent damage because of all the radiation and chemo and everything else that they've been doing to combat the breast cancer, the metastases to bone cancer that cause all the problems, right? So what else are they going to do? So they brought it down to 2, and so she was able to do all these other things in her life. She was able to actually use the function of her arm. She was able to get past the psychological pain and actually enjoy other parts of her life. And so there was other things that she had wrong, and they did use hypnosis for those other things as well. But if you can just imagine having like a part of your body, whatever it is that you use the most, imagine there's so much pain there. Imagine that they can actually put you under hypnosis and get rid of that pain, at least down to a 2, so something completely manageable, like a low-grade headache or something.
Yeah.
So it might be a small ache, but compared to what it was, it's completely manageable. Like we walk around our lives all the time with a slight ache, and we just modify it a little bit.
I feel like I'm more than a 2 right now.
In your neck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not trying to compare, but I'm saying the 2 is a bit, like I was going to ask if it was effective, and that sounds pretty damn effective. Pretty dang effective.
Yeah. And so, of course, like with hypnosis, we don't want to just jump into hypnosis and like work on that. We want to see if there's anything else that needs to be fixed and use those other avenues for fixing. So if there's if it's massage, if it's physical therapy, if it's an organ that needs to be treated, of course we want to go in that route. We don't want you to just jump into hypnosis. But if everything else has been exhausted, then just know that hypnosis can assist with pain relief. I mean, it's incredible, actually.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah. So the different types of assessments that they were using, they had to assess the hypnotic receptiveness. So, were they able to work on that with her? We found out it was like a 4 out of 5. She was receptive.
Yeah.
And then they had to be careful, like increase how careful they were for like the delineation of range of acceptativeness. So again, that was, they found what they could do and they couldn't do amnesia. And then they had to, establish objectiveness. So they would go through and do the interview, like, what has been working, what hasn't been working, what are we trying to do, what are we, so they can start isolating, like, what would be effective. Like, they wanted to reduce the amount of drug use because, like, long-term coding is just not going to work for anybody. And so they would go through and determine, for her in this case study, but for anybody, they would go through, or we would go through and determine, what are we trying to get, what is our accomplishment, what are we trying to be getting to that would help that person.
Yeah, you have to establish that goal so that you know when you meet it, if you don't meet it.
Right, and then like strategies like plan B, plan C, And so they also had to determine like any type of like changes in moods or feelings, and how that would be an objective, because she would probably, like anybody else dealing with a lot of chronic pain, her mood would change. She's got little kids and she's got other people she needs to deal with. So they would also determine like what kind of strategy they could work on, because it was obviously going to change her, and they needed to make sure they had like familial support.
Yeah.
They also would need to, like, I guess it's like modify self-reports of pain, and they would have to determine like, okay, now it's not based on memory of the pain. So if she came in with a 10 and now she's decreased her pain, they want to make sure that when she's communicating, or anyone is communicating about the pain, that they're using the right scale. Like, we don't want you to sit there and go back to the memory and try and pull on the memory of the pain. We want you to think about how you are right now. So as a massage therapist, we had asked people like, okay, how are you feeling right now with the pain that you're walking in with? Mm-hmm. And then after the post-massage, we say, how are you feeling? And people are like, well, I feel sore now. Well, no, you came in with this pain. I want you to use the same scale for that very exact pain.
Yeah, because you have to actually measure what you're measuring.
Right. So the scale has to be complete for what we're trying to measure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're sore. We expect you to be sore, but how about that pain you walked in with? So the same thing with the hypnosis. They want to make sure that the pain that she was measuring was the pain that was part of the objective. And then there's some like special studies of interactive effects of features. So how did like anxiety of the disease play into it? So it's sort of like with essential oils, and how emotions play into what type of essential oil they'd be interested in. And so how were her anxieties of the disease playing into her pain? So it's very similar. It was it was definitely a parallel that I had noticed when we were talking earlier.
Yeah, the layers involved.
Yeah, and so they would talk to her about that. They would talk to her about how hypnosis can work with that. They were talking to her about, I have my notes here.
Prepared.
How the therapeutic effect of participation, like physical and social activities. And so how would this hypnosis impact how she could do things? So again, they want to make sure that she still had a little bit of that there, not because they're sadistic, but because because they need to know that if it's gone forever, then maybe something did change. Maybe the nerve endings did regenerate and now she's fine, instead of always being damaged from all the chemo and the radiation.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to consider. And when they place you under hypnosis, they want to make sure that whatever is there, if it's something permanent because of an accident or medical, whichever, they want to make sure that whatever could potentially be fixed, that you still know that it's there, or that you need to be careful because there might be some damage there that you still need to be cognizant of. And so how would that affect her going out and being social? They want to make sure that they can either bring it down so that you can be go out and swim the way she wants to swim, or someone who likes to garden, or now that they're not so psychologically withdrawn because of their suffering and the agony, now they can be social without having the a grimace on their face, or having to call it quits early. And the side effects of hypnosis, and are they going to be able to have a better self-image now, and how long would the hypnosis work? Like, is this going to, like, sort of like positive effects and negative effects? Like, we don't want someone who has numb hands, who doesn't have like the pain from the numbing. Or I had a friend who had gone through, we know this person, by the way. I was going to say her name, but I can't do it. So she had numbness in her hand, and she had forgotten to put an oven mitt on, and she went into the oven and pulled something out. So that's something that, as in terms of hypnosis, we don't want that to happen, because we don't want further problems to occur, because they no longer have the pain. So they're going to do things that they should be inhibiting themselves from doing.
Got it.
And also, is like an age factor with hypnosis. We don't do hypnosis on children under the age of, I think, like 4 or 6.
Okay.
And because they're still developing.
Yeah.
And we don't do hypnosis on anyone who is on drugs or who has ADHD, because their mind can't stay in a position where they can sit still and have the power of suggestion. They tend to go off in like a different area. So there's different things that they have to consider as well when doing hypnosis and seeing if that would be a factor. So you're going to have people who, are very young, like a lot of children go through cancer, and they have long-term pain. Like sometimes they would have to be somewhat like resistant to, okay, maybe they can grow out of it. Their nerve endings are still maturing, and they could have neuroplasticity, and they could so they don't want to just do hypnosis on just anybody when they have a potential of healing within themselves if they're still growing.
But it sounds like a really powerful tool for those that kind of are in the right spot to be able to use it.
Right. I mean, just being able to be functional. So I have a client that has like really bad migraines, and I started going on this journey for hypnosis for pain, and I just thought, wow, if they can't find why this person is having migraines, and there's nothing that they can offer, and they're debilitated, and they're not going to school, or they're having to live with like sunglasses on because the sunlight is too painful, or lots of lights are too painful, then maybe doing hypnosis is something that they would eventually need to do to be able to function.
Get some quality of life back.
Right. I mean, whatever it is that they're interested in doing, like diving or whichever. But it's interesting how hypnosis can really get in there without anyone having to abuse any drugs to find any type of relief. I think that if more people knew it, then we wouldn't have this epidemic of...
The more you know.
The more, like a little star. But like people wouldn't be on the streets, like trying to do fentanyl or anything just to get themselves to feel anything but the pain that they had originally felt.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. There is so much pain in this world that people have, and it's so cool that you have this information and these tools in order to bring relief to someone if they fit the criteria and are interested in it. I feel like I learned a lot in this one. I mean, we've talked briefly about hypnosis for pain, but I love how you described it and how it sounds woo-woo. It sounds like kind of out there, but the way that you're describing how almost scientific it is in the approaches and try like measuring and those kinds of things. I love that.
Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it too. I mean, they were talking about like the small fibers and log fibers and how to reroute pain from going to the suffering and agony part of our brain and bypassing it to something completely different, which is all through the power of suggestion. And so it's this whole science thing that I can't. I mean, it was like the first few chapters. I'm like,
should we expect
oh God,
a deeper dive into these long and short forms?
Oh my God.
Maybe not. Maybe later.
I need a neurologist.
Comment if you want that.
Anyone, a neurologist out there that could just do a Q&A with me.
Oh, yeah, we can bring you in. Or, I mean, we might not have room right here, but we could do it.
You could be the plant.
We could do it.
Tell me, neurologist.
with another platform and actually interview others as well.
I would actually love to bring people in.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great.
New idea.
Yeah, we just have a podcast. We just start podcasting and then you just listen to us on podcast app or something.
Driving to work.
They would love to hear our voices.
Yeah. Like, have
sound
a
like
great day.
Muppets.
Hi.
Hi.
Is there anything else that you want to share for today's little session?
So I've been very encouraged. A lot more people have been coming in for hypnosis. And so I've had a lot of people come in for weight loss hypnosis and age regression, and it's been pretty exciting. Actually, I love it. And so I've done weight loss scripts and ego strengthening for people who need to start exercising more within weight loss, and then age regression for people who have felt rejected, but they didn't know where that came from originally, to try and heal that. And so I love doing hypnosis because I can see the difference. I can see the difference in my clients, and I think that they see the difference within themselves. And I think we should just know that our brains are extraordinarily powerful. Psychologically, we are stronger than we ever thought we could be, and we only use a certain percentage of our brain. And it's interesting if we really empowered ourselves and really didn't think of things as woo-woo, but as like explore a little bit more, and not think that we're, deep diving and seeing like worms coming out of our passports or anything. Like, it's not even about that. No, it's just it was a bad example, but
What?
Yeah. But we really are a much stronger organism than I think we've ever been led to believe. And I think we should be embracing it. And there are people out there that have already embraced it and found tools and have gone forward and done the pioneering. And I'm really encouraged. Like, I really want to be part of it, because I think that I really do want to help people. I really do. So, and I know that you do too.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Different tools.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to learn more or connect with you,
well,
this guy.
So I am on YouTube as Blondie Stuff 3039. I'm also, so you can reach out to me on my YouTube channel, or you can reach out to me on my Instagram, which is Deborah Ryan 1. And I'm also on Facebook, which is probably, you're probably watching these on any one of these platforms. And it is under Christy Schumann, Kristy, Schumann, Schumann. And you can always just send me a personal message and ask some questions and set up an appointment. I've actually been getting a lot of people come through that way. And I work at Live Oak Health, which is in Oak Creek. And that's
Wisconsin.
how in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, thank you. And I've gotten a lot of people come in from there. I've had people come into my home as well.
Beautiful. Well, stay safe out there. That's not what I was going to say. Subscribe if you want to learn more. And then...
Yes. And you know what? We are open to suggestions.
Oh, yeah. Comment what you want next.
Yeah, whatever you want us to talk about next. Or if you feel that you are an expert in something holistic, we would love to do an interview with you. Or if you have something that you want to talk about but you don't want to be in front of a camera, that's fine too. We can talk a little bit about how maybe we can all like add into something that you're a professional at and just talk about it. And then we can take you in on it and say, hey, Patricia Steinhoffel had this great idea and we're talking about it.
Oh, Patty Steinhoffel. All right, we'll see you next time.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.